mindset that's the problem. So if you've been in a broken relationship, if you've having financial issues, if you're having personal issues, you're having emotional issues, a lot of people will tell you, a lot of coaches will tell you it's your mindset. And you might think, well, David, it is my mindset. Well, I wrote a book on mindset. This came out, 2014, 2015, something like that. HD Mindset. If you've not read it, it's a great book. And I strongly urge you to buy it. It's on Amazon. And it's got 5-star reviews. It's a really good book. But it's still not your mindset that's the problem. So if it's not your mindset, what is the problem then? Well, it's deeper than mindset. So, in fact, I use a methodology. I have a methodology that I call Identify. So Identify it's built on certain characteristics. And the first part of Identify is essentially the sole core of where all problems occur. So you have your mindset, but your mind is something that you control. You have another version of your mind, and that's the subconscious mind, and that's the version that you don't control. And what builds up that mind, your subconscious mind, are your beliefs, your values, your thoughts on integrity and morals. It also has to do with a lot of the core of what makes you up as a person. And what is that core? Well, that has to do with your friends, your family, your teachers growing up, and the beliefs that they've presented to you over time that got ingrained into you. Also has to do with your culture, the culture you grew up in, and the things that you learned as you grew up. All of that molded the person that you are. And so what is that? That all has to do with one thing and one thing only. It's your identity. It's who you believe yourself to be. And identity can be a very fragile thing, because if you've ever heard of the term red pilling, people who've been red pilled, as it were, there's something that occurs to those individuals. There's 3 things that happen when someone gets to a certain point. The first thing that happens is they see what's ahead of them. They kind of see through the veil as it is, and they say, that's too much for me. And then they shut down and they revert to their old self, and they dedicate themselves like 110% to the way they were. They're like, I'm not going to face this new reality. It's too much for me to take in. And the best thing for me to do is to live the life as I remember it to be. So they revert back. The second thing they do is they breach depression. So there's a third thing too, I'll get to that in a moment. So what happens is when you're presented with a new idea or a new concept, and this is what mindset coaches talk about constantly, is they want you to focus on something. And the idea is to focus on what it is that you want. And that makes perfect sense. And to find clarity in your life. And once again, it all makes perfect sense to do. The problem happens to be when it goes against an existing belief, even though you're focused on it. And that's what you truly desire for yourself. But because you have a belief in the background that's working, it's not going to allow that new thing that you want to actually occur. So mindset alone isn't everything. And it can't do everything for you. You have to go to the core of who you are and strip down all the layers, figure that out, and then life transforms for you. And then life begins to happen for you instead of you trying to force life to happen for you. That's really what it comes down to. And that's why I created the Identify method, because that's what we enable you to do. That's what and this method helps you do, break down those layers that are holding you, propagating you to the life that you're currently leading. And even though we can make these minor changes and minor tweaks, then hopefully over time they take effect. But what they really have to do is they have to get to those core beliefs, those core values that are holding you to your past, that are holding you to the things that you already have. And you want this new thing for yourself, but you can't get there from where you are. You actually have to become a new person in order to achieve that. And the best way to become a new person is to literally dissect your identity. who you believe yourself to be. So the second thing I said was depression. So when you hear the term they've been red pilled or you've been red pilled, often what happens is you see through this veil and you're like, holy crap, all that I know, all that I believed or that I thought I believed is a lie or not real. And so they hit this wall and then sink into a depression. Then the third thing they do is they reinvent themselves and they go further faster than they ever did before. Why? Because they know there's a new opportunity there, something that they couldn't have done if they stayed where they were. And so when our paradigm shift, when you actually have a breakthrough, an identity breakthrough, then life transforms for you. It shifts 180 degrees. And that's the power of the Identify method. If you're interested in learning more about this method, this methodology, I recommend going to my website, daviddubay.com/schedule, and schedule an appointment with me. A 30-minute one-on-one, just you and I, to find out where you are and where you want to be and what it could take for you to get from where you are to where you want to be. And if we're a fit for each other, we can talk about that. If we're not, I'll help you find out a method or a way or someone that I would recommend for you.